All right, my friend, let's talk about going live. Like tips, tricks, setups, things to just kind of think about as you're planning on going live. Now, I want to hit a little bit of this on a personal level in the beginning to kick us off. You may or may not have a lot of experience going live, and you may or may not be nervous about going live, right? You might get a little jittery, you might get, something else. And just for you, it might be a really good idea as you're preparing to start doing your lives, even preparing your content. Go to social media and, go to live on people a few times, start learning your voice. You can sit in front of a camera and pre-record yourself many, many times. There's just a different kind of an energy that comes along with it with live, which is really beautiful. On one coin, you might say, well, God, what if people are on and I screw up? Well, number one, you've heard me probably 5 or 10 different times in this series say something, or the camera wasn't working right, or whatever. And because I didn't think it was a big deal, neither did you. If you make it a big deal, if anything ever happens, you're like, somebody walked in the room, the cat, the kids, the camera, the phone. If you make it a big deal, then it's received as a big deal. If it's just blown over, it's like, interesting. That's a little tech thing. Or interesting, it's, kid walks in or something and you're in the middle of something really serious. And all of a sudden now you can relate to everybody with kids because you're like, oh, sweetie, can I help you? Hey, did you know I'm recording live right now? I'm on here with our group and we're doing these great things. Perfect. Can I talk to you afterwards? Great. And then you come back in and you're like, kids, this is how life is. This is the life of an entrepreneur. This is my life. And it just rolls really nice and people are, pretty receptive to those types of things. So please try not to put pressure on yourself that if something goes wrong, there's a problem. Just roll with it. And the other side of it is, there is benefit to having a little bit of structure to your live, depending on what you're training on. You might want to have show notes, maybe 10 topics that you're going to be talking about. That could be really cool. There are people, that just wing it. And there are people that have a little bit more structure. And again, it just depends. If you're going to be, throwing a jam session from your living room or from your studio once a week, you might not need it. And if you're going to sit down and talk about structured conversations, you might. The other really cool thing is in going live, we have that whole live chat function that pulls up. So anybody can ask questions. So consider that while you're creating and, speaking your content, you're asking for feedback. And feedback isn't always like, hey, do you agree with what I just said? Because maybe somebody responds, maybe they don't. Maybe a conversation can be, hey, how does this land with you? Or what are you hearing me say? Or how could you integrate that in your own life? Or how is that not landing? What part of what I just said are you not fully understanding? I'd love to take the moment to answer and give them a few moments to write. We used to be on a different platform before we built Jedarian where it had a 15-second delay. It was terrible. 15 seconds is terrible. Jedarian's like, boom, you speak it, they see it, they can chat it, you can talk live. But one of the reasons that I bring this up is we learned how to ask questions in advance. Something to say like, I'm going to go through a topic, let's assume that I'm just talking about something. And I would pause and say, hey, in a couple minutes, I'm going to bring up a question and I'd like to understand what or how this information is coming across. How does this land? What are you learning? What do you think is most important? What's a key takeaway? And I'm going to ask in a minute. Don't worry about it at the moment. I'm just going to let you know that here in a moment we're going to do that. And then continue on with your topic and then ask the question so that you're also giving people an opportunity to speak versus, running through a scenario and saying, okay, now what questions do you have? And then you get uncomfortable because you're like, well, nobody's asking any questions in like the last 30 seconds or 10 seconds or 2 seconds. I need to move on. And then it rushes because you hadn't given them a moment to think about it. Or if you run into a question and run into a moment, you say, hey guys, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think about this. Here's the topic, here's the thing. I love your response. I'd love to be able to help support you, in this manner, answer this question. And I'm going to give you about 30 or so seconds to respond, and if we don't have any, then I'll move on from there. Look at your clock. Let it run for that 30 seconds. Don't be stressed out if nobody has questions, because maybe you did such a good job that they don't, that you already answered all their questions. But so consider that your live is meant to be almost a two-way communication. You're looking for engagement. Now, again, you might be doing some entertaining where that doesn't work at all. You might be running a live podcast and you're streaming in multiple topics and you're not going to take any questions at all. That's great too. But in other scenarios where you want feedback, you want to help, people, just plan on asking questions. That's not a problem at all. Let's talk about setup. Now, setup, mic and camera are actually pretty important. Jedari can only send the quality that you have. So right now I'm on a little Logitech mic camera and it's shooting in 4K, but the camera isn't 4K. It's not awesome. There's not, advanced technology behind the lens as if there is on like an SLR camera that can live stream. So if you want to do something really great, and I'm only saying if you want to, as I'm going to give you a little tip here in a second. If you want it to be like beautifully stunning quality, you have this great backdrop and you want people to be like, oh my gosh, this is high quality, you're going to want to invest in a nice camera. And it's probably not going to be a desktop camera, a little $100 thing. You're probably going to have a big old unit and you're going to put some lights, light your backdrop. I'm not lighting my backdrop. What it makes, depending on what I'm wearing, it blends me out of the wall. But if I wanted to create depth and separation, I would put a little light on the ground, shine it behind my back to create separation, and I might do it with color. And I might have a couple of lights here. I have no lights in my office because this is just meant to just be a conversation. I am using a mic. So consider that we can only give as good as you send. If you're shooting this from your phone and you're shooting it from your front camera isn't as high quality as your back camera, which is totally cool, that's fine. But realize, wherever that mic is, however far away it is from you, we can only pick that up, right? So if you want a really high quality production, then you're gonna want a high quality camera. Do you need it? Absolutely not. Very few people actually do. I'm just expressing the difference. If you're ever on somebody else's system, or you're on a social piece and you're like, whoa, that's really beautiful. They're probably not streaming it directly from their phone. Instagram only allows you to stream from your phone. You can't do anything else. Other systems will allow you to do a few more things. But Jedari was built for this reason. Most platforms out there that you can engage with as an individual person and do some kind of white labeled solution, most either use a third-party system like Zoom. You have to stream in using Zoom's technology, which is fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Or they only allow you to stream from your phone. So that means if you wanted to create a studio quality experience, you couldn't. So we spent the time and the effort and the expense to be able to build a platform where you can go live from your mobile device or you can go live from your desktop. And the reason that we did in desktop in particular, it's because anything you can plug into your computer, you can stream through Jedari through your desktop. So if you had a really nice camera, right, you're gonna plug that in to your laptop or desktop or whatever that is, and you're gonna do that live feed from the camera. If you have a mic, then, like myself, this is connected into my Mac, then I can plug my music or my mic into my laptop. If I wanted to play you music through Jedari, I could through my laptop. I just stream it through the internal audio system and you're streaming all of this live. So there's much more capability that you have access to when you're going live on desktop because you just can't do this with a phone. The cool thing about phone is it's portable. You can go live anywhere. You can turn it sideways, you can turn it forward, but you kind of always see people squished into the same spot versus if I have a camera spot, then I can do something greater. I want to dive more deeply into the capabilities of what you can do when you start working on your desktop. I'm going to pause for one moment because I want to make a point. If you have an option between having good audio and good video, but you can only do one, take good audio. People will listen or watch through decent video, like what you're seeing right now. But if I'm echoey and my audio is pretty bad, it's hard to listen, it's hard to watch. So one of the least expensive ways, if you're gonna be shooting from a desktop scenario like I am right now, wherever this is, right? This is just a little thing that sits on my desk, points about that far away from my mouth, hooks right into my laptop. I'm not running any other audio software. It's the best investment you can make is audio. So use your laptop, use your internal things, use your phones. It's great. If you can upgrade it, upgrade audio first. If you're shooting from your phone, there's tons of Bluetooth mics, little lapel mics or mics that you can hold that will Bluetooth into your phone and help pick you up in a higher quality. It's just a thing. So that we're pausing that whole what can you do and possible and going live, this conversation around this. Now coming back to it, what else is possible? I'm going to pull something up for you just one moment. I'm going to pause this, pull something up. You won't even notice that I'm gone. Okay, what I have on the screen right now is a video that was streamed live into Jedarian. I'm going to cut you through a couple of places and then we're going to talk about how they pulled this off. And it's why we went with a desktop option as well. And that's because if you wanted to create a total studio experience, multiple people live, you're streaming videos, you're pulling up news on the screen, different views, a lot of different views, you can. Because I can use a piece of software called Ecamm. There's other virtual cameras out there. This is just called a virtual camera. And it's a production studio on my laptop. I can decide who can come in when is there an intro, when is there an outro. Now, I would personally, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna have an editor, somebody that manages the show, just like you would at a live news show. Through Jedarian, we have a couple of television shows that they're closed and they're private and they're like news, and they run a similar setup. And so let me just give you an example.
So I choose a
Guys,
world, I choose a
not the
life,
right
I choose an
video,
existence
but
where there
let me
really
come right
isn't.
back. Okay, I'm logged here into Jedarian, and I'm just gonna
In the dreamscape, we get to create.
This video is not letting me go. How about here? Now you can go straight to Jedarian to watch this video. It's in our help and support system as well. This is a live.
Good afternoon, Jedarian. We are here at the offices of Jedarian. We've asked our...
What you're seeing is multiple people streaming at the same time, a customized backdrop that's happening. Different views about what's happening, streaming live desktop, streaming music, streaming live videos. This is, we're actually reviewing websites as we're walking through this piece. Multiple speakers. There's all kinds of things that you can do if you want to, right? And you can do this all yourself. I personally wouldn't, because I would want to focus on what's happening in front of me. If you're trying to create like a really high-end experience. Do you need to? No. I've gone live plenty of times just from my laptop, and I know it, right? And I know that that's not the highest rated experience that somebody else can have, but I'm okay with that because that's my choice. So I give you all of this information to let you know that it's your choice how well you want your end user to experience or be entertained in your system. There's a lot of options that you can do, a lot of possibilities, and they're just things to think about. Like Jedarian, we're sending whatever you send us. However great of quality it is, we'll send it for you. We'll push it through a live, your users will receive it, it'll look epic. And the front end, it's just up to you. What do you want? How do you want them to experience you? What do you want them to feel? Does it require that it's a really high-end experience, or does it not? Because other than that, it's up to you. It's like almost like going to YouTube and typing podcasts, and you'll see there's a million different setups for studios versus not studios. And it's just, what do you enjoy? What kind of content do you enjoy watching? And then I would try to, grow into that. Whether or not you can afford high-end cameras in the beginning or you can't, that doesn't necessarily matter. Maybe that's just something that you grow into. And just bringing this up, you've noticed a couple times I pulled the wrong videos. I didn't really stress, and it's not because I don't care about you. It's because I know that that's real life, and things just happen. So my friend, I appreciate you. Hope you learned a lot about going live, give you a lot of things to think about. We still have some more content, so I'll see you on the other side.